And right there.
Okay.
Here, let me take off my glass so I don't have that glare. And this is going to be shared on my Bow Wow Bill page, and I also share it publicly on my Facebook page. I'm on YouTube, and if you guys haven't subscribed, please consider subscribing over at YouTube. I have a few hundred of these interviews that I've done, but this one is an exciting one for me, man. I've been kind of reaching out to you for a couple of years, I think, man.
It's never connected.
Yeah, and it's okay because we're here now.
Yeah.
And I'm persistent. I love speaking to people. And oh goodness, look at hey, my camera does some weird stuff. And we have mostly dog trainers and some of the younger dog trainers tune into these live streams, Robert. So we'll address and talk to them, speak to them directly. I think that you have a lot of knowledge from your experiences, and I think we also see a shift with the paradigm of the social media that we see, and it lends itself to good things. Like right now, we're streaming live on social media, and I'm going to share this on my personal page. While I do that, what I was saying is that we're streaming live on social media, so there's some good aspects of it, but there's also some
bad.
Toxic. Yes.
Oh, I didn't realize. Okay, so we are live. That's awesome. Good to know.
Yeah, we are live, and you can share it too. If it's on Facebook, mostly. I don't do anything else really. I'm
okay.
Old school like that, but I'm gonna share this on my personal page. And while we do that, do you want to give everybody a quick introduction of who you are and where you're at and what you're all about?
Yeah, I'm so bad at introducing myself. I just, I really suck at that part. I'm just a guy who really loves dogs, and I'm trying to make the world a better place for dogs, the people who love them. It's been a long journey. It's been, about 20 plus years now. And every single day I get to do what I do. I'm grateful to God that I have this opportunity. And sometimes I'm outspoken. Sometimes I, tick off people. And sometimes I get people who really like what I say. But the bottom line is the only thing I know how to speak is the truth. And I don't filter it much. And I just hope that people who are starting out, let's say, like younger trainers, that they'll kind of look at the experience that I've brought into the industry and the lessons I've learned and the dues I've paid, and make it a little bit easier for yourself. It's one thing to figure things out. It's another thing to have somebody who kind of figured a lot of stuff out. And that's how we learn, in any aspect of life. We try to find people who have knowledge and align ourselves with them. And a lot of people have done that. I've gotten a lot of really good comments about that. So hope to keep that going.
I call that borrowing scars, especially in this industry that can leave scars.
Yep.
With some of the scars that I have from making mistakes and getting bit. If a younger trainer or somebody doesn't know can borrow from my mistakes, then my mistakes have kind of transmuted into a lesson that is beneficial, right? So borrow scars, you guys.
Yeah, that's a good one.
I have Kashi joining us all the way from India. Do you know Kashi?
I believe I do.
Okay. Yeah, he's a great guy from India, doing a lot of stuff out of the box. Nice. So one of the aspects of social media that we see is people that have huge followings, and they put the emphasis on the amount of people that follow them.
Mm-hmm.
And what are your thoughts on that, man? What are you?
I mean, just because you have a lot of followers doesn't mean you're good. Just because you have a lot of money doesn't mean you're good. I always equate it. This is a great old saying that says that money isn't money until it's used. It's just a dollar, just a number. And I could now equate that same thing with social media. It doesn't matter if you have 100,000 or a million followers, subscribers, or whatever. If you're not doing anything good or presenting anything good, what good is that? And most of the people who have not most, but a lot of the people who have a lot of followers are focused solely on that. How do I get more followers? And they follow the algorithm. The algorithm will give you the followers. I've always been very much against that. I think I will not be dictated by an algorithm. I rarely use AI like ChatGPT and stuff like that. I like it for certain things, but I don't like writing things with it. I like things to come purely from me. I don't allow social media to influence what content I post. I could easily have 1 million subscribers or followers if I would follow that, but I've been against it for many, many years. I think that what I believe organically is what I want to show people. And whether it gives you a lot of subscribers or not is irrelevant as long as you're true to yourself.
As I use ChatGPT, no, not well. I use Grok to write
Uh,
the intro, but
well,
I've
but
researched
that's
it and plug it
different.
in. Yeah, but tell
But
me like
you get something. It's not like you're saying this is what you're not writing a dog training book with Grok or with ChatGPT. You're summarizing information there. It's kind of a good thing because you can pull so many things together for you quickly and oftentimes accurately. But as we just said before we started, it said I was a vegetarian, which I was for 10 plus years. But then I changed, and and sometimes those things don't get updated, and that's where we need to always be true to ourselves and kind of check things out.
why did you change and start eating meat again?
There's two phases to it. One is, when I first got my dog, my Shar-Pei Silly, I looked at him and I said, "Wow, I'd hate to see any animal suffering," and I still hate to see any animal suffering. And I became a vegetarian, and I did it for ethical reasons, not for health reasons. People always, lie to you, again, there's so many things that people want to persuade you to their way of thinking, and they'll make up lies. Even medical doctors will say, "Oh, it's so dangerous to eat meat." And for a while there, I kind of believed it, although the only reason I changed was for ethical reasons. And then I realized for my health, it was better to eat proteins, animal proteins, and also the amount of suffering that animals are a part of in the vegetarian movement is great. It's monumental when you think about all the fields that are completely plowed clear and all the ground squirrels and the moles and the birds and everything that die because of that. I really can't weigh one animal as being more valuable than another. I'm one of those really weird people. So if a bird dies and a cow dies, they're both lives. They're both created by God. They both have a spirit. They both have a passion to live. And so, if we're killing one or the other, what's really better? So I just made a decision to go back to eating meat.
But it wasn't a health issue or anything. Like you didn't.
No.
That's what
I
happened to me.
mean, you were a vegetarian too?
For a little bit, and
Yeah.
then I have a big ranch here, and I mean, I was sore. Like
Hmm.
my recruit time, I've had a tendon problem with my
Hmm.
right arm, and I think it's pretty common in dog trainers that when we use our hands a lot or grab
Sure.
dogs or whatever, and it just was getting worse and worse and worse. And then I have, so we hunt here,
Hmm.
and we have our own cows and stuff, so we can look death right in the face. And I think that that's something that a lot of people, they just think that it comes from a grocery store instead of
Yeah.
looking and realizing that this was a life.
Yeah.
And when you can process and we have our own chickens and stuff that we harvest here,
Hmm.
and I made the choice, even though it was heart wrenching, that
Sure.
I went out there. I remember before the day before, I went out with the chickens, and I'm like, "You guys are about ready to go on a big adventure here."
Oh boy.
Just having to talk with them and sitting with them.
Right.
But I tell you, Robert, once I tried the difference, like I
Yeah,
can
it's
see the meat.
huge.
Oh, I was like, we're doubling it next year. Like,
Yeah, for
you
sure.
know, but I think that there's a disconnect. And
Hmm.
I
There
think
is.
that people would honor um, and cherish the fact that they do eat and consume this food if they could see that phase that is kept in the dark.
Yeah, I mean that's why one thing, as much I mean I hate trophy hunting. Like I think like that kind of sport, trophy hunting. I really am against it. But people who hunt for food, I think are the only people who are really true to themselves. Because yeah, I go to the grocery store and I pick up a steak, and I'm not looking death in the eye. I didn't see that cow. I remember while I was a vegetarian, I lived in Switzerland for a short period of time, and this farmer lived on a dairy farm, and he had a little cow was born. I watched it being born, and it had a little star in its head, and I named it Stern, which means star in German. And I said, "Well, what's going to happen to this cow?" And he said, well, it's a male cow, so it's going to go to slaughter. And I was like devastated. I was mortified that this would happen. I said, well, I'll buy it from you. Like, I'll just pay you for whatever they would pay you, and then I'll pay you monthly to keep it. And he said, we can't do it. It's just not practical. You can't have this many male cows, around. So it was a real eye opener to see that, and this was on a dairy farm. I mean, I love dairy products, but that's also a dirty industry if you look at it. It's, all in all, I think it's just the mass consumerism, and whether that's animals that we eat or the mass consumerism around dogs we breed. It's all insane. It's all just human gluttony and human selfishness that we have to really face.
Yeah, and I think that there is a kind of a dark aspect of it. There is fallout
Hmm.
whenever we have over consumerism, whenever we have, and we don't take into full consideration the aspect of breeding dogs,
Hmm.
of even working with shelters, or um, of even euthanasia in shelters,
Yeah.
and that, I mean, because it doesn't feel good, and doing what's right doesn't always feel good. I'll always remember my dad telling me that,
Hmm.
and I think that this is a lesson here. And speaking of which, how did you get your start with dogs?
Oh man, I've explained this a couple times to people. It's actually a very funny story because I was teaching karate, and yeah, we had dogs growing up. One thing I hate is when people say, "Oh, I've been involved in dog training my whole life, ever since I was 6 years old." No, you had a dog. You weren't involved in dog training. I had dogs growing up too, but I was never involved in dog training. I was teaching karate, and I had a friend of mine who was taking karate from me, and he was a magician, a really, really great close-up magician, and that's
Mm.
something that's always been a hobby of mine, close-up magic. And we became really good friends, and he had a dog named Ginger. It was a Doberman Pinscher, and he had her so well trained, and I was really intrigued by it because I'd been training in the martial arts for many, many years since I was a teenager, and I was intrigued how he did it, and he showed me some things. And then later, Ginger died, and he got another dog named Kona. And so he said, "Hey, you can help me train Kona." And I said, "Sure, I'd love to." And I spent a little time with him, and it just kind of, it definitely wasn't training that I would now say is good training. It was, it worked, but it opened my eyes to this communication with another dog, or another creature being a dog. And then I had a friend of mine who had a Shar-Pei who couldn't keep him, and then I got him, and he was a handful. He was a real handful. And I said, well, I'm going to just put into practice some of this stuff. And then I started researching and learning more, and trial and error. I think that's probably your best teacher. I don't think dog training is really something you can learn out of a book or on a video. I think it's something you have to apply hands-on. If you're going to call yourself a dog trainer, you can definitely train your dog. That's really easy. But when you start to look at the diversity, then you have to get that. So those were the basics I learned from him. And it really sparked me. And from there, it just grew and grew.
How did this? I had a question. I can't find it right now, so I'm looking down at my sheets here.
Mhm.
But you talk about martial arts and how this was a dovetail for you with your friend. Did you see aspects of
Yeah.
what you enjoyed about martial arts, and how did that correlate with working with dogs?
The the more I train dogs, the more experience I gained with dogs after 20 years, the similarities become more and more obvious. Because martial arts, if you look at a great fighter, um, there's no anger, there's no rage, there's rage as far as passion, but there's no, like, none of this anger. And I think that is very important to understand in dog training. It's a timing issue. Everything in martial arts is timing, and you're cutting it down to, you know, portions of a second, tenths of a second, whether you're blocking that punch or getting the punch in the face. Rewards in dog training must be timed properly. You must have a connection with that dog. You must have a connection with your opponent. The old Bruce Lee saying, become one with your opponent,
Yes.
become one with the dog you're training. So there are so many. In fact, the page you had pulled up when we first started chatting here today was my original logo, it was black belt dog training. So that was my dog Goofy. And I said, I'm going to call it black belt dog training. And I had this whole idea that I would steer people through training their dog from a white belt all the way to a black belt. And then I just thought, it's kind of kitschy, it's a little bit cheesy. So I got rid of it. But yeah, the original idea really was melded directly off of that. And I never wanted to do it professionally. I really enjoyed it with my dog. But then my veterinarian was like, you have to do this, because I was just going into the shelters and working with difficult dogs. And just, it really, dog training is so simple. I don't understand why people complicate it. I think people make it, all this science nonsense, which, and I'm not saying science is nonsense, but I'm saying look at how science can be manipulated and played into our emotions and into our way of thinking. Just think of, I'm not going to bring anything up because it's going to kill the algorithm, but think of how many times we've been duped by science or the word science. And by making it that complicated, by putting that out there for people, it just destroys the simplicity and the purity of dog training, which is a connection between two people. And, I wrote this down the other day. It's not about making your dog do what you want him to do. It's about making your dog want to do what you want him to do, because then he's going to do it willingly, and he's going to keep doing it. He's always going to do it because he wants it and he enjoys it. And that does not mean there's no corrections. But I believe so much of what I see online is just crap. It's either overproduced crap that was just edited together, or it's just crap, period. And it's just poor dog training, and dogs are suffering because of it.
That's one of the reasons why I like doing these live streams, is because this isn't curated. I'm not going to edit this after the fact or anything like that. I might put up some like little blurbs. I guess this program has a new feature with the clips, some of the reels and stuff, which highlight some of the parts of our conversation. But I think it is a process, and people forget, especially with science, when we have an hypothesis, the first rule of science is observation. Right? And
1,000%.
Right. And I think that, do you know what's always tripped me out, Robert, is when I'm working with a client, and primarily I've worked with pet dogs, but I learned from everybody, man. I learned from Bart. I've talked to Ivan. I just went and visited Ivan and in October. And the crazy thing is, man, is when I went to go visit, I visited Omar Van Mueller. Do you know Omar?
Sure.
And the stuff that he does with his dogs. And then Ivan and Omar and I did a podcast together. I don't know when it's going to come out. Ivan videotaped it. But I just remember during the podcast, Ivan was like, well, you're down here to see Omar. What questions do you have for him? And I just remembered, I don't have any questions for him. If I had a question, I would just text him.
Sure.
I just want to watch him.
Yeah.
I just want to watch him with his dogs, man. That's all I want to do, is just observe how he is with his dogs, how he is. And the funny thing is too, man, is I think that it's a misconception when people put out all this curated content that they don't see that our dogs can be shitheads too. like our dog can act up, and not only that, but I correct the shit out of my dog if I needed to, if they were acting up in front of me or doing something that they shouldn't do, because I have to show them and prevent that from happening. And I think that that's valuable, and I want to see that too when I go visit people. I want to see their dogs, so I know I'm not the only one. Right. But I think it's important just to, and not only that, but like when we meet in person, there's I guess like an energetic expression that's conveyed with physical touch. I call it like psychic energy or whatever it would be, versus just being behind a keyboard and typing out whatever you want. Right. It's important to meet people, to watch them. And so that's one of the reasons. But I think, I'm kind of off on a tangent here, but that's where I was getting at. I was like, the observation is something that we've forgotten about. And what I was going to say too, Robert, was I've worked with my clients and I've told them that their dog is doing something in front of them and they don't see it.
Yeah, that's true.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it happens all the time. I mean, you become blind to certain things, or you purposely overlook them. Like how many times you see a kid like screaming and acting like an idiot in a store, and the parents overlook it because they're too embarrassed by it, or they don't want to face the consequences, or people who are, severely overweight, and then they say, "Oh, you're fat shaming me." Well, the doctor's actually just trying to help you not die of a heart attack, or whatever it is. I think we've become a society where we just hide our head under a rock and think things are going to go away. But yeah, people don't want to see, well, or that's not a big deal. That's not why I got you here. But that little piece that you're picking up as a professional trainer is what's extrapolating out the huge problems that your dog is having.
Yes. Yeah, the reason you have me here, we're striking at the leaves, and I want to get to the root.
Yeah. Yeah. But people stay stuck in the leaves.
And not knowing, I mean, and I know that it's, maybe it is that we're talking about that pain point,
Mm-hmm.
because it doesn't feel good to realize that you're the problem, or
Yeah, but that's the problem that we have nowadays. It's kind of like you have these loudmouth trainers online criticizing people, saying mean things. And in the old days, you just punch people in the face. It was really a lot different in those days. And I mean, I remember when I had my karate school, somebody called me and said, "Oh, I don't believe you have the rank you have." And I said, "Okay, I don't care." I mean, he got my name out of the phone book, and he said, "I'm going to come down to your dojo and fight you." I said, "Okay, it's open till 8:30. I'm happy to wait till 9, but then I got to leave." So I just waited. I waited till 9:15. He never showed up. But, in those days, that's what you did. I think what social media and the internet has done is kind of like removed that one step from people, and people can be really mean to other people. And there's no real reason for that. I'm never, I don't have any mean spirits towards any person unless they are hurting an animal or hurting a child or hurting something. I don't care. I really just, I'm too busy to care. But when it affects the industry or stuff like that, that's kind of when I do get a little bit upset about it.
yeah. And I think, I mean, there is a disconnect. I'm 49 years old, and so I'm so thankful that I didn't have social media as I was younger,
Hmm.
because I think there is a disconnect to consequences that could happen. And I remember, I mean, I went to I grew up in Boise, Idaho,
Hmm.
and I went to every public school because I was a fighter. I
Hmm.
just, it was something that I like to do. And I did, are you familiar with Tong Sudo?
Sure, very much.
Okay. So my friend's father had a dojo, a Tong Sudo dojo. And so I started practicing with Tong Sudo, and it, in some ways it was good, in some ways it was bad.
Hmm.
Right. Because I mean, it kind of fueled my ego. But I just
Hmm.
remember one day we were getting in the ring, and there was a new kid in class, Victor Martinez. I'll shout you out here. He's still a buddy of mine, and he just moved from Fresno, and he was just a skinny Mexican kid, and I was a bigger guy, and I thought, you know what, I'll wipe the floor with this kid. And I tell you, I've never been hit harder in my life
Hmm.
than
That's
he did.
the winner, right? That's the good thing. That's how you learned.
And I learned, even to this day, 49 years old. That was probably when I was like 15.
Wow.
And I just remember him ringing my bell, man,
Yeah.
and seeing stars. And guess what? We're friends to this day.
Sure.
And
Of
some of the
course.
people I fought with, right afterwards, we became best friends.
Yeah. Well, I mean, because there was a camaraderie, right? Because you had a mutual respect to it. Like nowadays, I think if you do that, next thing somebody's going to pull up with a gun and shoot you or something like that. I mean, that's how we grew up. I mean, we called each other names, and that names that if you said them now would be problematic. But then we fought, and then we dusted ourselves off, and next day we were back playing stickball. It was pretty simple. Life was much simpler then. I kind of feel sorry for a lot of these, and not kids, because kids, I don't feel sorry for them yet, but like these people in their 20s and 30s who are really just like completely blinded by life, by this masquerade of a life. That's too bad. They don't form proper connections. They're not able to talk to you. I see so many times people I'm talking to, they have their nose in the phone. And when they do, I just walk away. I can't talk to you if you're going to be looking at your phone. I'm much more important than that. And my time is much more valuable than that. So it's just a different society. And people probably say, "Oh, you're old." I am old, but I'm pretty cool. I'm a lot cooler than a lot of the people who are younger than me.
Well, and the experiences that you have throughout life,
Yeah.
and so you started with your dog, your friend's dog. There was, you said Ginger, and then what was the one that you
Ginger
helped?
and Kona. That was my friend Mike Forbes. Yeah, Michael
Okay.
was a magician, a great one of the best magicians in the world, and a fantastic dog trainer. You know, again, he was doing he did never taught anybody how to do it. He really took 90% of his knowledge from Bill Keeler books and Bill Keeler's methodologies. Which nowadays, if you say Bill Keeler, people, oh, he's horribly abusive. Um, if you
I
read
would
his books,
disagree. I would
yeah,
disagree.
I would too. I mean, you know, Keeler really is the father of modern of dog training in general. And, you know, the thing is, back in those days, you were honest about stuff. Yeah, there was some things that he would do that you would think, okay, there's probably better ways to do it. But it's like the old, if you saw the movie, was it called Sully, where the guy landed the plane in the Hudson, and then they
Oh,
put him on trial, and they said, "Oh, you know, you could have done so much better." And then everybody said they would have done this, they would have done that, but they had 8 hours to think about what they would do. He was taking a plane that was crashing and landed in the Hudson River. So, you know, Keeler was at the forefront of a lot of stuff, and whether he's right or wrong about it, what evolved out of it is still pretty functional. And although I may not agree with all the stuff he did, there's a lot of people I don't agree with, you know, and I think people should disagree. They might disagree with things I do because it works for me, but it wouldn't work for them. We need to have open dialogue, and this is why one of my things has been to bridge that gap between people who call themselves positive trainers and people who call themselves balance trainers. I hate both of those terms because, first of all, there's no such thing as a purely positive, effective dog training because there are consequences. I mean, I can't go through my day from 7 o'clock in the morning until 7 o'clock at night with purely positive experiences. It's never happened to me in my entire life. And I'm grateful because I've grown and become a man who understands life because of it. And if you want to shelter your kids and your dogs from ever having an adverse um, experience, then you're not going to raise a good dog. You're not going to raise a good child, and you're gonna suffer. When eventually the calamity hits or the struggle hits, that animal or that child is not going to be able to deal with it, and you failed them by not exposing them to it.
yeah, that's just how the world is. You know, well,
Yeah.
before this, I was stressing out on in Safeway. You guys have
Sure.
Safeways down there?
I think there are, yeah, but I know Safeway.
A grocery
You're in
store.
Texas, right?
Nope, Seattle,
Seattle.
Washington.
Okay. Oh, so
Yep,
you're up north. Okay, I didn't realize
yep.
that. I thought for some reason you were in Texas. Maybe
I don't
because of
know.
the name.
William Travis. Well, William Travis is my middle name too. William Travis Church. But
Oh, okay.
oh, and the Bow Wow Bill. Yeah,
Yeah,
my
Bow Wow. I thought, yeah,
yeah.
but
So
yeah.
that you can see back over here. Yep.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, stressing out. Like it's December 23rd for anybody watching after the fact. So we're 2 days before Christmas. And I told my wife, I'm like, there's not one parking spot. She's like, of course, it's 2 days before Christmas. So what do you know? But she sent me there to get some stuff for. But you know, and what my point is that stress is a natural part of life, and the more tools that we have, and
Mhm.
that's what we're supposed to do as parents, as guardians, are arming these kids, these dogs,
Mhm.
how to encounter and stress in a human world,
Mhm.
that they can deal with it in a healthy and proper manner. And you are doing a disservice by thinking. Well, you're first off, um, you're you're profoundly, I don't know if ignorance the word, but
Mhm.
or profoundly, what is the word I'm thinking of where you're not gullible, but I don't know, but you're wrong.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah,
that
wrong's the right word.
you're not going to have to at some point in your life deal with this.
Mhm.
And I hate balance training
Yeah.
because the whole whenever I think of balance, I think of like teetering on a log or
Yeah.
something like that,
Yeah, it's
right?
great. Great point. Yeah. Mhm.
Where I want to be solid, I want to be firm. And I tell
Mhm.
people I'm not a balance trainer, I'm not a purely positive trainer. I'm an individual
Mhm.
who's always learning and realizing that there is no finish line here.
Mhm.
That as we grow and learn together, and as higher consciousness beings, it is our moral obligation to be stewards and
Mhm.
to give these dogs a meaningful life, based on their wants and desires as an individual sentient being.
Mm-hmm.
And the wants and desires of that individual are just as important to that individual as my wants and desires are to me. Your wants and desires are to you. And we must honor and respect those, but we have to learn about them.
Yeah. Well, but the point I was trying to make too, Bill, is that I think we have this divide between these people who call themselves positive trainers and the people who call themselves balanced trainers. We're all dog trainers. And I
Yes.
think, and sometimes I think I have more in common with people who consider themselves purely positive. And sometimes I don't. But I certainly think we need to bridge this gap because there's a lot of people who are on that side who are fantastic trainers. And I think
Amen.
I have an immense amount of respect for people who want to approach it with that attitude. I think if you come from that place where you say, I don't want to hurt the dog, and people on the balance side feel the same way. We don't want to hurt the dog. What I don't want to do is start poking fingers at one another and say, look, we have an understanding. Like my wife, when we got back together, we dated, 20 something years ago, and we just got married about 5 years ago. I don't remember the exact date. The date I remember, not the year. But she was a very positive trainer. She went to Clicker Expo and she trained a little dachshund to play basketball, and she trained her Labrador retriever to do stacking rings. And she never really put corrections on dogs. Then she got this dog, Dwayne, who's a hunting lab, and it was a different animal. And so we were together at the point, and I'd already had my Malinois and my German Shepherd, Maya, and Goofy and Maya, and I said to her, I said, well, you might consider using an e-collar or a prong collar on the dog. And she looked at me and said, okay, if that'll work, because she didn't have that stigma, like this is a bad thing, right? Is once you put the stigma out there, like I'll give you an example. If I took my iPhone and I went up to somebody and knocked all their teeth out with the iPhone, which you could do because it's made of metal, the next time that person sees an iPhone, they think, God, that's a really bad thing. It knocked all my teeth out. But if I showed it to you and showed you how you can make, videos on it or photos on it and take pictures with it, you would have a different opinion of it. So if I can show somebody how an e-collar, for example, my friend Jerome had a stroke. He had a Rottweiler. Everybody said, you got to get rid of the Rottweiler. You had a stroke. You can't handle this dog. He was lame on the right side of his body. And I said, that's never going to happen. I'm going to make sure you keep this dog. And we did. We put him on an e-collar. We trained him. And to this day, he still tells me how grateful he is because I showed him a way. And it wasn't about shocking the dog. It's right away when we get to those statements is when we need to just kind of step back and open a dialogue of communication that if you're willing to put a leash on a dog, it's not that different than putting an e-collar on a dog.
Amen.
You could take your leash and hang the dog and kill him with a leash, without a doubt. But that's not the function of it. When people say e-collars were created to hurt dogs and to create pain and discomfort, I don't believe that. They say, well, then why does it go from 1 to 10? And that's exactly why it goes from 1 to 10, because a lot of dogs can be worked at a 2 or 3 or 4. And some dogs don't even feel it until a 5 or a 6. Like I'm a real lightweight with electricity. Like if you put an e-collar on me, it just at low numbers, I'm like, can't stand it. Like I used to be the kid at the library. If somebody shocked me, I would jump out of my pants. My wife, you can put the e-collar on her at a high level and she'll do it to herself to test it. I never test an e-collar on myself. My wife puts it on her, even she's wet. She puts it on her wrist, like on the inside. And she goes, oh yeah, there it is. It's crazy, right? But she was purely positive, but never considered herself purely positive, never considers herself a dog training, but she's one of the best dog trainers I've seen. She took a hunting Labrador and put a Masters Agility Championship on the dog. So we can make dog training better by working together, right? And by putting aside our differences. And, I've had numerous conversations with Bart, and there's things he and I agree on, and there's things he and I don't agree on. But the idea of doing what's best for the dog, I think, is in our common interest.
Yes. Amen. And I think that should be the underlying fact of why we do what we do. Dang it,
mm-hmm.
I don't know why my camera does that. Can you
Oh,
see
I
the
thought you were
comment?
doing that. Yeah,
No,
I can't.
it's like my thumb or whatever I had.
Oh, okay.
So
I
if
thought
I
you were
do
doing
certain
that.
movements or something I don't know.
Okay.
Can you see the comments, dude?
I
Robert,
can't. I can't. Oh, you know what? Maybe if I
L-
click over here,
look at
let me
this.
see.
Two of my favorite dudes on screen, spank bank material. Freaking Larry, dude. And Jonah's here as well.
Oh, there's
Um,
Jonas. Yeah.
yeah,
Was
but
the
we
other
have
one from Larry?
yeah,
Oh, Larry
Larry.
Crone. Oh, that's fine.
Larry's my
Yeah, but
buddy, dude.
yeah, Larry's awesome. We love Larry, you know.
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons why, like, I've never spent any money whatsoever on marketing these, but
Mhm.
the thing is that the best of the best, and I'm honored that they see my content here is
Yeah.
because, you know, I that's what I hope for, is that I don't want I mean, a lot of the people that are just they love dogs or whatever, they're fine to watch this, but this is geared towards people that are actually choosing to trade their life to work with animals,
Yeah.
and that's why I want to show them and have these conversations with them. And you know, and it also. So I want to stay on the subject of purely positive and balanced, and say like I was a purely positive person. What would
Mhm.
you say to somebody that I don't even know? And I think that this is the problem, man, is that we don't know how to have that dialogue without it becoming dysregulated. Especially,
W-
I'm not going to say which side it's on, but it becomes
But it's on
dysregulated.
both sides, Bill. It's like I
Yeah.
really am seeing it more and more on both sides. I was talking to I mean, I hope he doesn't mind that I say his name, Jamie Penrith, who's, in my opinion, one of the best dog trainers. I love Jamie. He's in England,
Awesome.
and he's been a staunch advocate for e-collars. And so, as have I been. I've been very political about it, and I've been very open about it. Um, but we had this conversation where we said, you know what? Part of me wants to just flip and say, okay, you know what? Ban the e-collar, because I see so many people abusing it. I see so many people saying horrible things. There's a trainer, I'm not going to mention his name, but he's out there boasting on how we put the collar on the dog and we just light them up for aggression. I've dealt with a lot of aggression cases in my 20 plus years, a lot. And I've taken dogs with, I had two dogs, two Shar-Pei, and the second one was so aggressive they were going to kill him. And it wasn't like, oh, I rescued him off the euthanasia table. This dog, my friend was going to rescue him. He bit her, and she was a great rescuer and knew a lot of stuff about it. And I got the dog. I got him, and he was a nightmare. He tried to kill my other Shar-Pei from day one, and I trained him. So I've lived with those dogs. I don't know where we were going with that, but Jamie Penrith. So when people start saying, "Oh, I just put the e-collar on the dog," and I don't like terminology like I light them up, I fry them, I burn them. These are all things that a lot of people who use e-collars just say. They just come out and say it. And I think if you have that attitude, then yeah, I think we should ban the tool. I think if we can't, as custodians of this tool, speak better about it, then we have a big problem in this industry. And I mean, I've talked about this with numerous top trainers, and I'm talking about top trainers as well as top competitive trainers, sport trainers. I could train a dog to do 95% of everything I needed to do without ever touching an e-collar. And I'll tell you, when I got Shmoo, he was less than a year old. He had been on an e-collar, I think like 10 months or something. Maybe I put him on. I don't even remember. Maybe 9 months. I just started him some conditioning on it. Um, Never really ever gave him a correction on it. Just started some basic stuff with him. And then on January 7th, our house burnt down and my van burnt down that had every bit of dog training gear in it. Everything I owned was
No
gone.
shit.
Yeah. So I had like a slip lead, and I think I maybe had a tug, and that was it. And um, I had nothing else. And we were in a hotel, and I had one pair of pants, one shirt, one pair of shoes. And I said, well, I got to go train my dog. And I took him to the park, and I just dropped the leash. I didn't have an e-collar. I didn't have a prong collar. And he'd only been trained, I mean, on those things for a few months. And I don't have a problem. My dog will do exactly what I want to do with or without it. And I can train any dog with or without it, because the entire time I was at the city shelters in LA, I did it without any tools. There was only a slip lead and treats. That was it. And I dealt with the most difficult dogs that anyone has ever dealt with, because the LA City dogs notoriously are the toughest dogs, because people who have come in to do their programs here have gotten bit and have had a lot of problems. So Jamie and I were just in unison, like, if people are going to abuse it, yeah, how about this? How about we flip? How about we go against it and show people, let's shut it down, because we got to do better. Purely positive people start with the right idea, as do people like you and me and Larry and Jamie and everybody. We look at how we're going to do what's best for the dog, not these trainers who every board and train gets an e-collar strapped around their neck, and then they start pushing the button. It pisses me off to the nth degree, because I've taken more e-collars and prong collars off of dogs than I've ever sold or put on dogs, because people don't understand the tool.
I think that right there lies the problem. And just like we have these devices, and just because this kind of falls back into that social media and the instant gratification that we get to immediate access to information, that people are looking for a quick fix with their dogs too, man. And they slap an e-collar on them. They push the button. They got a button just like they do on these devices, not realizing that this quick fix, I don't know how to say this,
but it's not a quick fix.
It's not a quick fix, man. And in
Right.
fact, it's something that is circumnavigating the crucial role of bonding and building a relationship. And I always tell people, and this works for people and dogs or kids or anything, rapport is power.
Yeah.
When you build rapport, when you get to earnestly know somebody, and I've also said, like, if you ever want to be impressive to somebody, be impressed by them. Like, this is part of, oh geez, what is that book? How to Win Friends and Influence People.
Yeah.
Man, I remember
Napoleon
that.
Hill.
Napoleon Hill, right? And
Yeah.
he talks about nothing as sweet sounding as somebody's own name, and
Yeah.
different lessons that I've learned in that, to use people's names to build that rapport. And I think that we're trying to skip that fundamental cornerstone
Yeah.
by using these devices that sure will get some on the surface results, but
It's also a newness factor, Bill. This is what people really miss the boat on. One thing I hate seeing is when a dog comes to me, and a client brings a dog, and they say, "Oh, the dog's doing this," and then they hand you the leash and they say, "Well, can you fix it?" And I said, it doesn't matter if I can fix your dog. That's stupid, right? The idea is, can I teach you to better communicate with your dog to fix the problem? All these dog trainers, is nothing I hate worse than seeing it, and you see it all over social media. The person brings a dog and the dog's growling, and the dog's doing this, doing that, and then the trainer goes on, the trainer's walking the dog, and the dog's not growling. Well, because the dog doesn't have a relationship with you, right? The dog is in constant, is in confusion. Like, is this guy gonna do something? Is this woman gonna do something? And it's not about the trainer fixing the dog. This is one of the big issues with board and trains. Board and train is so often done wrong. And a lot of trainers hate me for saying this, but because they make a lot of money on board and trains. They charge a fortune in LA for it. But the problem is, unless you change the dynamic, unless you change the relationship between the owner and their dog, nothing is worth anything. Nothing. If you can't fix that, and it's exactly correct. It's about a relationship, and a relationship has to be about respect. And it has to be a mutual respect. My dog respects me. Have I been hard on my dog? Yes. Does my dog fear me? No. But he does fear me more than he does, chasing another dog or doing something stupid. You must, under any condition, no matter what side of dog training you're on, you must have a relationship with that dog. And that's not something you're going to do by putting an e-collar on the dog and saying, "Okay, don't do that." That's not the way to do it. That's not the right answer. It's like having a kid running in the street and just bashing him in the face, and saying, "Don't do that again." You just destroyed it. You might have fixed that problem, but you've destroyed every other part of the relationship that you have.
yes.
And there's few trainers talking about that. And that's where we need the dialogue to come from. And we on our side who believe in using tools and believe in corrections because we understand their efficacy and their value, we need to pull aside people on our side and say, hey, back down because you're really ruining it for anybody. You don't call people names. You don't, disgrace people or anything like that. You show respect and decency, and again, I've said things, about the purely positive movement when it seeks to destroy what we stand for. I've never seek to destroy any person in the purely positive movement as long as they figure if they want to train the dog with a clicker and treats, fantastic. If
Yes.
you can do it, great, do it. I mean, I like clickers and treats, I
Me
don't
too.
what I hate about clickers is the same thing I hate about e-collars. They think it's a remote control, and a clicker and an e-collar only has one function, to mark something. That's it. Whether you mark it with a click or you mark it with a bump, that's it. It's a mark, and if people don't get that, they shouldn't be using the tool.
Yep. I mark it. I mean, with the click means mark and come get paid by me. And then I use tones like the treat and train bowls so the tone is a mark. Now go to that vector and get paid over
Yeah.
there. Now go to that vector and get paid over there. And the
Yeah.
e-collar the one thing that I've learned from Bart is the e-collar can be a go switch as well, like just an indicator when the dog is
Sure.
prepared for it, but it also has to be prepared for a correction as well. And I see a lot of comments showing up. I'll get to the comments here in a little bit, you guys. But one thing that I really want to highlight on, and I want to ask you this, man. You said the word, and I think this word is huge, and I think it's misunderstood and I think it's looked over, is the confusion. What aspect of confusion do you see with the aggressive dogs? And when you bring about clarity and certainty and confidence, what role does confusion play in this whole dynamic?
Well, if you confuse a dog into not doing what he's intent on doing, you haven't solved the problem, right? I used to equate it to having a balloon. And if you have like one of those long balloons and you squeeze here, well, then all the air goes to here and this gets bigger. And if you squeeze both of them, then it comes out the middle. And if you squeeze all three, the balloon pops. And that's exactly what a lot of people do when they're dealing with aggression in dogs. And I've dealt with aggression on different levels. Yes, I've dealt with clients' dogs, but I've dealt with aggression in the shelter. And that's the scariest place to deal with aggression because when I say to you, what's wrong with your dog? You say, oh, if you touch his tail, he bites because his tail got slammed in the door, whatever.
Yeah.
I now know to avoid the tail, or I know to prepare myself when I touch his tail. When you go into the shelter, you open the kennel door, and you have no idea what's going to happen. So you've got to be much clearer. And if that dog is in the shelter and he bites, he's going in the back room and he's going to get bumped. He's done. And I like to make things very clear to dogs. And I also feel that it should be done in a Zen state. In other words, whacking a dog or yelling at a dog or doing these things to a dog only creates more stress in the dog, right? So there's an amazing trainer named Peter Scherk in Germany who wrote a great book on IGP, and he talked about how a dog cannot, or even us, we cannot learn anything when we're in a stressed or an amped up state. And I did it in a seminar once. I had a guy that I knew, thank God. And I said, what's 4 times 4? And he said 16. I said, what's 16 times 16? He said, and I just grabbed him. I started shaking him. I said, what's 16 times 16? And he said, I don't know. I don't know. And I said, well, was it any easier to know the answer when I grabbed you and shook you than when I just asked you calmly? And he said, no. So what an animal doesn't know, it can't learn through stress. So we have to set the stage for the learning process to begin. And Sure, we can condition the dog with an e-collar. A lot of times I've taken e-collars and especially prong collars off of dogs in aggression states. And I'll be clear that, you see a lot of people on social media showing training with dogs, aggression dogs, and they're kind of doing themselves a disservice because most dogs fear the bite, right? There's the tiniest percentage of dogs that will actually follow through with a bite. Now, a lot of those dogs are in the shelter, so I know that for a fact. But I used to do this thing where I would have a dog that I knew would bite, and I'd have a bite mitt or a bite sleeve or a bite jacket, and I'd let them bite. And once they get that sensation in their mouth, that's really not what they want to do. We have counter conditioned. We've bred dogs, domesticated dogs for thousands of years. That the one thing that any IGP, French ring, Monty ring, any bite trainer will tell you is you have to teach the dog to bite. You have to bring that into the dog's vocabulary. It's the smallest percentage of dogs that are actually going to bite. Now, I've dealt with them. I understand they're out there, but there's a lot of trainers who, have a dog that is barking and snarling and snapping, that dog would never bite. I can tell you that right now.
Yeah, me too.
And, right. So people are making a lot of money and making a lot of commotion of, the dog's behind, it's in a kennel. It's behind a fence. It's got barrier aggression. It's not aggressive. It's barrier aggression. Open the gate. Now you're going to see it. I used to teach that in my seminars. I explained exactly what barrier aggression was. I said it's one of the most common things you'll see, especially in a shelter, because the dog is frustrated, and that's getting him attention. And they said, "Well, how do I know if it's barrier aggression or not?" I said, "Open the door. You'll figure it out real quick." Because people don't understand that. So we need to come together. We need to understand that we can benefit a lot from mutual conversations. And there's a lot of great people on both sides of this game, and there's a lot of very damaging people on both sides of this equation. So we need to pull together.
Amen. I mean, we need cooperation. We're going to get much more successful, and we know what we're success as an industry. And I have two things that I consider: number of dogs being euthanized or in shelters, and then the number of kids getting bit. Those are the two big things that I look at as watermarks of how we're doing as an industry. And guess what, you guys? It's not looking good. It's not looking good at all. And I love what you said about let the dog bite. And there's a trainer, I'm going to be doing a live stream with him. I won't mention him right now because there are some things that he's done that maybe be a little bit uncouth, right? And just like with the respect that we have, integrity, I always tell this, especially to young trainers. If you're a young trainer, listen closely. Integrity takes years and years to build and 1 second to destroy. Right? Would you agree with that, Robert? Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And
absolutely.
So have integrity with how you speak. Be purposeful. Live a life of excellence. It's not easy, but but that's what I definitely recommend. Is like it's very easy to become dysregulated, especially in this industry.
Yeah.
And this industry is a magnet for asocial type of people. But what you were saying about putting the bite suit on, like this trainer is, and I couldn't agree more with him with what he did with this dog, is showing the dog that this bite is not going to get you what you think it's going to get you. You need to reevaluate things.
Right.
Does that make sense? Like, and is that what you're about teaching the dog?
We've been doing the bite suit thing for, 20 plus more, probably people are doing it way before that. I've been doing it for 20 years. It's nothing new. And I think a lot of times people wrap it in a different package and say it's new. I have an issue with trainers who do things and then put more stress on the dog, right? And that's the scary part to me, is we have to focus that we can't teach any creature, and dogs, we're kind of custodians of dogs, that by adding more stress to the situation. And again, I've done it for a long time, and I've done a lot more dogs than a lot of people. And I hope I'm not coming across like I'm boasting that I've got
You're
more
not.
experience than a lot of people.
Yeah, it's just a sheer numbers game with the
Yeah.
shelter.
I
And the
mean, when I'm in
rent.
a shelter, I mean, on the average day in a shelter, when I used to do temperament testing there, I would see 30 dogs. There's no trainer in the world who sees 30 dogs a week. You know what I mean? So, yeah, so I can see a lot of dogs, and I've worked with a lot of those dogs. And I was the guy that, even to this day, you know, there's certain shelters that will call me and say, "What do you think?" And I'll be honest with them. I'll say, "Look, I would kill that dog, you know, because it's just not worth the effort to save that dog when so many
Amen.
good dogs are dying, or being killed." So, but adding stress to it, and there are a lot of components to that stress, and I think oftentimes prong and e-collar corrections put on a dog that's in that state end up causing more stress and more fallout because it's not clear to the dog. And again, I'm a very pro e-collar trainer. I love the e-collar, and I've advocated for it since I first started using it. People have too much of an ego in it, and they have to say this is the way to do it. And it's also a lot of men, there's women too, but a lot of men get into this that they're stronger, I can handle this dog and blah blah blah. And that's great, right? So if you can tell me, and I had a dog named Zeus. You can find Zeus's video on my YouTube from Bound Angels. This dog was horribly aggressive. And I took him out. He tried to attack me. I dodged a bullet. He tried to attack my Shar-Pei, my poor little guinea pig. And I thought I'd find this dog a home. He was like a Malinois Akita mix. And I was trying to get this dog a home for way over a month. And I had him boarded in Malibu, which cost me a fortune. And I was out training this dog 2-3 times a day because I couldn't keep him in my house because he would have killed my dog. And I used an e-collar, but I used a different approach to it. This dog lived and died with a family, with a small child, he grew up, Joey grew up, and had an amazing life. When people can do that, when we get away from this, I had the dog for 3 weeks, I gave the dog back to the people, it's 3 months later, the dog's doing great. You know, we need to get away. We need to look at this a year down the line. We need to look at this 2-3 years down the line. Where are the results? My results speak for themselves because I've been doing it long enough to know that there's, you know, tons and tons and tons of that's Zeus. So, and look at the date, right?
2008.
This dog was gnarly at people and at other dogs. He really hated other dogs.
Is that you handling him?
And look what a beautiful dog he is. It's just a beautiful, beautiful dog. And back then it was harder to film stuff because we didn't have iPhones that would, you know, that we could use and stuff. So
Look at that hair, Robert.
I actually had hair back
like,
then too.
Looking like me. So training a little bit of recall. And does he have an e-collar on right now or no?
Yeah. So
can you hear me okay?
And this was, you couldn't see, but behind me, my friend had his other dog. It was a very, very gnarly pit bull.
Can you hear me, Robert? Hold on. I don't know if this is, can you hear me?
And after that, he got adopted to,
check.
I forget the husband's name, but Lori Deal and Joey Deal was the son, and they kept this dog, and he died of cancer on their couch. I mean, they loved this dog. And I followed up with this dog for years and years afterwards until, you know, shortly before his death. I said, if you want to bring him up, she had a problem, bring him up. Let's work with him a little bit. And he was an amazing dog. He was a really, really special dog, but totally misunderstood, totally, you know, gonna head. And honestly, these are the kind of dogs that really we should be putting down because there's so many nice dogs in shelters that instead the nice dogs are being put down. Lie down.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Robert, can you hear me?
I can't hear you.
I don't know why. Did your earplugs? I
don't know what happened.
I don't know. Can you guys hear me? Let me know in the comments if you can hear me. Because I was talking.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, but I can't hear you. Hang on a second. Maybe my headphones aren't working.
Here, yeah. Billy had to be my poor guinea pig a few times. That's right, John. Let me know if you guys can hear me in the comments.
I don't know why it's not working. My headphones aren't working.
Maybe plug them back in. Check, check, check.
Can you hear me now?
I can. Can you hear me?
Yeah, but you sound like a mouse. Let me see if I get you back. There you go. Okay. It sounds all mousy, so that's really
Check,
unprofessional.
check.
Hang on.
1, 2, 3. 1, 2,
Hang on.
3.
Let me take these off because maybe. Okay, but
Right.
I've got you now on the computer.
Can you hear me better, or can you hear me
Yeah.
okay? Yeah, I've been talking
Yeah,
to you
it's
the whole time with Zeus, and then that's how I figured out. Okay, Ryan says, like, "Oh, Ryan, what's up, buddy, dude?" So let's
okay.
why we'll just take this opportunity to go to the comments here because so Ryan service dogs for veterans, great guy, man. He's a
Nice.
veteran himself. And what was funny is I sounded like a mouse right when John says Bill had to be my poor little guinea pig a few times. John Sparks has Sparks Canine here in Monroe, Washington. He has a facility and wonderful dude. Do you know John?
No.
Dude, am I still sound like a mouse?
Yeah, you sound like a mouse. Did you do something to your mic?
No, I didn't. Here, let me come. I'm gonna remove myself and come back up. Okay, so
Okay, see what
I'm
happens. Yeah,
still
see if
here.
it changes anything. Just waiting for you to come back.
Check, check.
There you go. Perfect now.
There we go. It must be.
That was so weird. You sounded like you had this hype. It sounded like you were playing at 2 or 3 times the speed or something.
That's so funny. Right when John says I'm the guinea pig, then I turned into a guinea pig.
You did. You totally did. You sounded like it.
Hi from the UK. Manny, what's up? Tanya, and let me know when you guys are watching this from. This is a client of mine up here. She's in the UK right
That's it,
now.
Manny.
And what's up, Manny?
I'm doing a thing for Manny on March 1st in Palm Springs, but it's all sold out. Manny was all worried. You know, he kind of kept hitting me up. Oh, we got to sell this out. We got to sell this. I said, Manny, I said, you got my name attached. It's going to sell out. And he's all panicking and panicking. It sold out. I mean, every working slot sold out like in a week. So that's going to be in Palm Springs. I'm telling him to open a couple more slots up because I know a lot of people want to come out. I'm going to do hands-on, which I really do anymore, hands-on training like that. So people get to work with me, and I'm going to really address that, what we're talking about, that relationship aspect of the dog training.
I think that's a huge aspect that's missing, like especially when people are new.
Mm-hmm.
They kind of want to know what the quick fix is. How do they become a success overnight? And
there's no success overnight.
There's not, man.
There's a great saying. There's a Japanese calligraphy painter, and they said the guy painted this painting and he sold it for a lot of money. And the guy said, he goes, that's a lot of money. How long did it take you to paint that? And he said 4 minutes and 40 years. And that's the truth of it. You know, that's what we're not seeing in the social media thing. You know, you might get good results, but will they withstand the test of time? Because dogs change and people don't want to address that, you know, that when the dog is out of my hands, it might be a different dog. You know, if you're not following the protocols, if you're not staying with it, it might not, the training might not stick.
Well, and the environment is different too, man. And that's a huge aspect of this. And especially with behavior rehabilitation, I compare it to drug rehabilitation. And if we go right back to the environment that we were in before we went to the rehab, guess what's going to happen? Relapse is going to happen.
Yeah.
Did your headphones die? Because there is a little.
I don't know. Yeah, I'm just listening to you on the computer. It seems to be working fine. You're not getting any feedback, are you?
I am just a little
are?
bit. Yeah, just a little echo.
Let me see if I can put these back on. Maybe they died. I don't know. I can't tell. I don't think they did. Let me see. Let me see if I can switch back over to them.
Okay, I'll see if I don't sound like a mouse. Check, check, check.
Hang on. Let me go here. I'm going to go to my settings, audio, and I'm going to say speaker. Oh, it doesn't even. Let me put them back on my computer. Hang on a second. All these technical things I hate.
It's all good.
Let me go audio. AirPods. Let's give that a try. Does that work?
Check, check, check. Can you hear me?
No, I think that might be the problem. I think the AirPods might have gone dead.
Okay, we'll deal with the little echo.
Let me put it back on there. Sorry.
You're good.
This has never happened before. Let me put you back here. One sec, Bill. Hang on. Got to change it here too. All right. So do I have you here on the computer now?
Check, check. Check, 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 check.
1,
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
I can't hear you again. God darn
7,
it.
8, 9, 10, 11, 12.
Audio should say, it says, oh,
Hello, hello.
hang on, speaker. There.
Check 1, 2, 3.
Yep, there you are. Yep.
But I'm back as a mouse.
You're back as a mouse. Or a chipmunk.
Let me go back. I'll be right back.
Okay. That is funny.
Check, check.
I think it's obviously on my side because you do this all the time. I just never use StreamYard, so I don't know.
Yeah, it's. Do I sound normal now?
Yeah, you're perfect.
Okay.
I would recognize you anywhere.
I love it. This is the beauty of doing these live streams.
Right.
So I want to just finish these comments. This is Tosh. She's down in New Zealand. That's
Oh, nice.
so cool. Worldwide, baby. This is amazing. I'm standing here in my office. You're at your place, and we're speaking to people all around the world. So this
Isn't it awesome? Yeah.
is amazing, man. But so it's a double-edged sword, though. So,
Yeah.
hey guys, I've always loved your manner when addressing anything, Robert. You're always respectful and courteous, as well as explaining things in a way that is easy for people to understand. I love that about you too, man. Oh, I can't hear you.
They can hear me.
Okay,
That's one of the things that I think people try to complicate dog training. And this is why I made that shirt, Science Has No Place in Dog Training, because obviously science has incredible value in the world, but the people who are trying to put a stranglehold on dog training say, well, unless you're approaching it science-based, then it can't work. First of all, dog training is the simplest thing. It's like communicating with an animal that lives for you. It's so easy. When you make it complicated, then you're trying to say, well, only I can do it. And you're playing the God factor, which a lot of dog trainers do. There's no God factor. I'm a dog trainer. That's all I am. That's it. It's pretty freaking simple. But when you start to get into this complex thing of making it more complex than it is, then I have a problem with it, because I do try to make it simple, because my goal is to get everybody to be able to do it, right? Everybody should be able to. Now, I'm not saying everybody should be a dog trainer, but I'm saying everybody should be able to communicate with their dog. And when you take away from that, you say, oh, you need, science, you need this, and understand the 4 quadrants. Jamie and I made that one thing we put on Instagram about good things happen, good things don't happen. Bad things happen, bad things don't happen. That's the quadrant. That's it. It's really simple. And we as dog trainers, and Larry does it. Larry makes it pretty simple. He breaks it down. Larry's a nuts and bolts kind of guy. Don't complicate it. Make it easy for people so they can benefit from it. You don't need to keep making money on people. If you join my membership site and you get it in 3 months, good, go, be gone. Go have fun with your dog. I don't need to keep charging you thousands of dollars for courses. I get really pissed off at that, because some people can't afford it. I've got people in Middle East and India, South America, Mexico, all these countries where they're like, they can't afford my membership. And even if it's 20 something bucks a month, they can't afford that, but they can go on YouTube and see it for free. And if I'm going to make money on something, and I've made a really good living in my life, then I kind of owe it to pay back and to give back, whether it's to the shelter or some people who need it.
Yeah, I love that, man. And not only that, but it reminds me of what you were just talking about with Jerome and his Rottweiler.
Yeah.
I just had a client that older lady that dog pulled her over, and the daughter's like, get rid of the dog right now. And the lady, I'm just like, she was like, I don't want to get rid of this dog. And I said, look, listen, this isn't even going to come up in the conversation. You will keep your dog.
Good.
Because people don't, especially for the elderly, they don't know how important it is for that companionship aspect that this dog is with them day to day. And when they wake up, when they go to bed, and it's just this important part of their life.
Yeah.
And it puts our mind in such a wonderful place. Can you turn down the volume just a little bit?
Yeah.
Because
sorry.
Hear it myself. And I don't know if you guys can hear the echo too, but I can sure hear it.
Is that better?
Yeah. Can you hear me though?
Yeah, I can.
Okay, perfect. Let's leave it at that. But I love that aspect, because it doesn't just mean that it's this way here in America. And You go all around the world too, man. And one of my favorite things to do is when I go to another country, I watch dogs,
Mhm.
right? And
Yeah.
the same vein is through every culture I've ever been to is that people love their dogs.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I saw a video the other day that that would disagree with that somewhere in the Middle East, but yeah, I mean, I think we just generally
Yeah,
love dogs.
Islam states
Yeah.
sometimes. Yeah,
I have a problem with anybody who doesn't like dogs. Dude, I mean, I get it. You're allergic to dogs, so you don't want to have a pet dog. But when you start preaching to people that dogs are dirty and evil, I disagree with that. I don't think there's anything in the world besides our thoughts and actions of humans, because God made everything and everything's made in the image of God and everything is pure and everything is beautiful. It takes humans to screw that up and to hurt children and to hurt animals. So I have an issue with it.
well, and it's also the power over innocence. I think that is um, that's a huge factor in some of these people, that we have to realize that evil exists in this world, and
Sure.
to not know that evil exists in the world gives an advantage to evil,
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
right? And
Yeah.
so the power over innocence, and knowing, like, and I've talked about this many times on this live stream, is like when we see evil in the industry, it's our obligation to call it out, because evil
Yeah.
does not want to be found out. That's the one thing that they don't want.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, mean-spiritedness, there's a lot of that going on in the industry. So, I mean, I think that's something, it needs to be addressed. I mean, I have an issue with it. Yeah.
Real quick, we got cut off with Zeus. And when you were doing the recall exercise, it looked like with him, when it was just a foundational work that you were doing, when do you say you are a fan of e-collars? Typically, when do you put on that e-collar, Robert?
When the dog's ready. I'll give you a great example. So with Shmoo, I'm training him for a sport, demo, IGP, whatever, right? And a lot of my training I've done with him has been through CP Scherk, Connie and Peter Scherk in Germany, who Peter won the world championships 3 times. We're friends. We kind of, get on well. We speak German together. And another guy named Frank Phillips. And I know one person said to me, well, when would Peter or when would whoever use an aversive with a dog? And I said, well, when the dog needs it, right? People, because we have access to tools, we feel like we need to use it. So it's a consumer thing, right? Oh, well, let's put an e-collar on. Let's put this. Let's get this tool. Let's get that tool. Again, not most, all training I did in the LA City shelters, I was under obligation and regulation that I could not use anything but a slip lead. That's it, a slip lead. No e-collars, no prong collars, no nothing. I couldn't use any tools on the dogs because it was forbidden. And animal rights people would absolutely destroy, you know, anybody who did that. So would a lot of dogs have benefited from e-collars and prong collars? Yeah, 100%. But I had to play the game. I had to jump through their hoops, and I was willing to do it. But I'll put an e-collar on a dog if I think the dog will benefit from it, and I will take an e-collar off of a dog if I don't think they'll benefit from it. I'm under no obligation to make anybody happy except for the dog. And a lot of people spend a lot of money. Well, I spent $250 on this e-collar, and I'm like, well, sell it on eBay. Just get rid of it. You don't need it. It's a tool. A lot of dogs. I always say a lot. That's just it's just nomenclature. There are dogs who don't respond well to e-collars.
Right.
Right. There are dogs that don't respond well to prong collars. For example, a lot of dogs that I've dealt with dealt better with an e-collar than with a prong collar, because the prong collar is very personal. Now, some dogs, if they've gotten wise to the e-collar, will turn around and bite the person with the e-collar. European dogs that get imported, they've had really heavy-handed e-collars on them, and they're going to bite the hand that's holding the remote, and they should, because they've gotten abused by it.
Yeah. I mean, and what's funny is that I just she's in the UK. Tell my UK friends about the ongoing success with Minnie, relationship and rapport in e-collars. That's one of the things that we used with her dog, and I like to put them on once I've laid a foundation of obedience, or once the dog already knows and the lines of communication are open. That's when I put it on, if at all. Like
Right.
they aren't mandatory for me. And
No,
in
me
fact,
neither.
I'd rather them not be, because guess what? They malfunction. I don't want
Sure.
the dog to. I don't like the dog to respect anything but the relationship that we have. I don't want to put this thing on the dog and the dog
Yep.
realizing that, oh, I better mind. I want the dog to know. And when the dog sees this, I want that dog to be like, oh, yeah, here we go,
Yeah, it's
man.
fun.
Yeah, it's fun.
Right.
It's a good thing that's happening. Um, and so that's one of the, I'm not surprised, but a lot of people have it backwards, where it's the very first thing that they're throwing on this dog. For me, it's one of the last.
And a lot of dog trainers that we see, a lot of people in this industry, very well-known people, they run programs that the dog comes in, boom, the dog gets an e-collar. That's the program, right? The program is built on that. And that's bullshit, right? It does not need to be like that. If the dog needs the e-collar, if the dog will benefit from the e-collar, that's the true equation, then use it. But if you're just putting it on because it's part of your program and you charge $3,000 and the e-collar is included, well, don't go to a trainer like that. That's a bad trainer.
Yeah.
There's nothing. When people say, how are you going to train my dog? I go, I don't know. We're going to figure it out. We're going to figure out how to communicate with the dog, right? I don't know how I'm going to train your dog. I don't know your dog.
I love that. I love that. And not only that, but just like you were saying about, I like the clicker. Like I like
Clicker's
the
great.
clicker, but some dogs, they don't like the clicker, right?
Some don't.
Dogs,
You're right.
right. And so it's like, well, we're going to take a little deviation from what we were planning to do. And this is another, if you're a new trainer, listen to me. You need an eclectic knowledge base. And I think that's what happens with the purely positive, is that they shut themselves off to knowledge with the belief system that
Yeah.
this is wrong, right?
Yeah.
Where it's like, the last thing I ever want to do is hurt a dog. With that being known, now let's look at these tools.
Right.
Right.
Well, I would certainly say that any good trainer on any side of this argument, the very first thing they should say is they don't want to hurt a dog, right?
Amen.
Not that they don't want to cause discomfort to a dog, because it's like, okay, I'll give you an example. I go to the gym regularly. I go to Gold's Gym in Venice. Larry Crone has come with me, and he gets very upset if I take anybody else there. He gets very jealous. And when I go to the gym, I don't want to get hurt. In other words, I don't want somebody to smash a 45-pound plate on my face. But I want to create discomfort because I want to get sore from working out so that my muscles can grow. And that's what we need to look at in dog training, because the reason the dog is getting training is because we need him to grow. We need him to develop. And the only way we're going to get him to develop is to put challenges in front of him, just like, us going to a gym. So discomfort or challenge or something like that is something that we need in life. Adversity is something we need in life. And if we don't have it, we're not going to grow. Like we teach our dog something, and then, we tell him to sit, and then we kind of do something. We do jumping jacks in front of him. Is he going to stay sitting? And if he doesn't, we correct him. But if we don't ever do the jumping jack in front of him, we say sit, and we give him a cookie, say, oh, he sits, he's perfect. And you never tried it at the mall. You never tried it at the park with a squirrel running by. Well, then he's not really sitting, right? So the reason you want him to sit is for control, for safety. Then you have to put that to the test. And when that happens, he might get a correction at the end of a leash. It might be an e-collar. It might be a prong collar. It might just be walking up to him saying, no, I told you to sit. Some dogs respond well to that. So we need, and this is why I'm so involved with IACP and why I'm so happy I've spoken there 3 years and three years in the last 4 years. 1 year I couldn't go. We must open our dialogue to everyone. We must embrace other people. I met Michael Shikashio at IACP this last year when I was inducted into the International Hall of Fame. What a nice guy.
Yeah,
what a good guy. What an amazing reputation this guy has. And I enjoyed meeting him. I'm happy next year. I'm presenting, and the keynote speaker, the opening keynote speaker, I'm the closing keynote speaker, is a very, very well-known positive trainer. When we start opening our minds up, the problem is the other side is not really doing that. I haven't been invited over by APDT at all to speak. I would love to. I would love to speak to more people, that we can all come together, because we've got a big problem to solve. There's a lot of untrained dogs, and the focus we need to be focusing on is getting dogs to stay in homes. We need to form better relationships between dogs and their owners. We need to form better relationships with our government to enforce things like backyard breeding, puppy mills, dog fighting, breeding in Skid Row with homeless people, and all these things. This is a bigger challenge. The bigger challenge is solving this problem that we're killing tens, if not hundreds of thousands of dogs every single year. That's a big problem. E-collar being abused is not the biggest problem in the world. There was a report of 50 something thousand cases of animal abuse from LA city shelters over a period of so many years. There was not one report of an e-collar in that entire thing. Every single thing was abandonment, neglect, starvation, and these kind of things. So if you really care about animals, address the big issue. Animal shelters, responsible ownership. Every dog should be microchipped. Every microchip must be registered, and that's it. Now you're going to keep being responsible. When people dump dogs, people abuse dogs, make that a felony, and make the fines steep.
Make the punishment have teeth. I think we should take it a step further, just like a sexual offender registry. We should have an animal abuse registry.
1000% agree.
Right, different ways that we can. And it's also I don't think. What do you think about certification of trainers?
Look, it's a great idea, but who's going to hold the cards for the certification? That's the problem.
Yeah, you look at Sweden.
The only people who are pushing that are the purely policy people who are in the same equation that they say we should certify dog trainers, which the concept of it I'm not against. I think dog trainers, maybe they should be registered, right? But when you start to certify it, if it's going to be certified, then have a body certify people that would say, okay, yeah, you should be using any tool that's legal, right? You can't say you're gonna be certified as a makeup artist, but you're not allowed to touch the lipstick, right? It makes no sense. Or you're certified as a barber, but you don't get a razor. You can't do that. And that's why I fought against the certification thing, because it's every single part of it always comes back to we need to certify people so that there's no cruelty used and there's no tools used. There's no aversive training techniques used. Now you're getting away from certifying, and now you're just creating a monopoly, and you're trying to get the government to do your work, which they've done in Europe. They've shut it down everywhere in Europe, and don't think they're not using tools in Europe. They can't admit to it because it's a huge fine, and if they're professional people who are competing, then they'll never compete again. So it's complete draconian laws that are now overriding personal rights and the rights for you to do with your dog as you wish. It's like somebody saying, remember, I mean, years ago, there was a group of people who were trying to ban the LA city shelters from serving the dogs food that had meat. They were going to make everybody a vegan. All the dogs were going to be vegans. And this one idiot city council member said, let me show you what I feed my dogs. And I swear to God, the recipe was like cornflakes, peanut butter, rice. And I'm thinking, oh my God. I mean, talk about torturing a shelter dog even more. I mean, just put needles in my eyes at this point. It's just absolutely insane.
I don't get it. What I think, man, is that people try to think with their emotions. That's the only, or just that there's extreme people. Just like I said, there's evil people in the world. Yeah. There's also the extreme people in the world, and unfortunately, they're the loudest.
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't get it, man. I do not get it one bit. And I have like 4 pages of questions here, and I haven't even gotten to one of them here. So
we could always do another one. We can always do a Q&A. I would love to do that.
Yeah, I'll send you all these questions that I have too, because
no, surprise me. I like being surprised.
Okay, even better. Well, the couple of things. So we started with the IACP, and I want to stay here for just 1 second, because do you think that this might be this regulatory body that?
In reality, it's the only body that is without bias, right? It's the only dog training organization in the United States that allows for free expression, for trainers to do what's best for the dog, yet they still are against cruelty. Obviously,
Yeah.
I wouldn't be speaking there. I wouldn't even be a member if they weren't for that. They are the only body that really could be a regulatory body, because they would certify, if they were going to certify people, they would certify people if they were purely positive. They would certify people if they used e-collars or prong collars, slip leads, or wanted to use vegan treats. They would say, they wouldn't say you can't use vegan treats. So we need to open our minds that if we're going to do what's best for dogs, then do what's best for dogs. Stop enacting new laws on cruelty, because there's so many laws on cruelty. The only reason they keep adding cruelty laws is because they refuse to enforce the ones that are already out there, right? So how about those? I'm sure you saw it years ago, but there was those videos and pictures going around of all the dogs that had the rubber bands around their mouths.
Yeah.
And there was like growing in, and the dogs, like they found dead dogs with rubber bands around. They're not illegalizing rubber bands, So they show a picture of the dog with 2 marks from the e-collar, which is obviously a bark collar, because the e-collar is taken off and moved every time. You have necrosis of the skin. Well, then you have the same necrosis of the skin when the flat collar gets grown in, because they're not changing. I rescued a dog, not quite rescued, but I got a dog out of a situation that had a collar embedded in his neck. I mean, I was mortified.
I've had situations, same thing. The collar had to be surgically removed. It
Yeah.
grafted inside the skin. I've had one where a dog was running off. The person decided to cut off the pad of the dog's foot. And I mean,
Yeah.
I've just seen such severe neglect cases. Robert, I stopped working with rescue though. I couldn't anymore. I couldn't handle it, man. I didn't have the emotional bandwidth to do this. And I mean, my hat's off to you. Do you think that, and there's also like a savior complex in
Oh, for sure.
the rescue world that I could not tolerate. There's a couple rescues here in Seattle that I work with, and they're actually were at the IACP. The people were Jenny from Doggone Seattle was there, and and so the people that I do work with seem to be on the right track.
Well, you're going to have the savior complex, and that's something that, every single time I hear somebody, oh, I rescued the dog, he was just about to be put down.
Yeah,
Well, I mean, I had one person tell me the dog had the needle in his vein and they were about to push the juice in, and I got him out. It's insane, right? And they have to keep telling the story to feel good about themselves. And one thing I always tell people, the first thing you got to do when you get a rescue dog is forget he's a rescue dog.
Amen.
Give him a life, treat him like a dog, like a family member. Like, don't keep reminding him. It's like if you rescued a child from a really abusive situation, would you keep saying to the child, God, remember how bad you were abused? Remember they were beating you? They were putting cigarettes out in your face? Like, would you keep reminding that person of it? Because your energy in just speaking it, words have power. You're speaking it. The dog is absorbing that energy. It's horrible. And I'm not a crazy, Reiki, vibe kind of guy. I'm just saying the reality of it, but they have to be reminded that they're saviors. And then they say, oh, Robert Cabral, why don't you rescue dogs? You bought your dogs. I said, well, I never put a dog in a shelter. Like, I don't feel obligated to rescue a dog. I've had rescue dogs. I've had a few rescue dogs. My wife had a rescue dog. And I'm not telling you have to rescue a dog. I'm not the guy who says, oh, don't buy a dog. I'm saying, buy a nice dog. Go to a great breeder and get a great dog, and make sure you train it so it should never end up in the shelter. And if every person did that starting today, we would never have another dog ending up in the shelter ever again.
Yep. Amen. I bred for a little while. I bred skipper keys, and I always had the caveat, like, if there's anything that happens to this dog that you can't keep him,
you bring him back.
Bring him back. I don't care if the dog's 13 years old.
Yeah, for sure.
You bring him back to me, and
that's the way it should be.
Yeah, and that's what an ethical breeder should do. And it's like, I don't even care. I won't even ask you what's going on in your life. If you want to share it with me. I had one dog come back. The lady had unfortunately developed cancer and passed away, and I rehomed her dog, Blaze.
Right.
But that's the aspect of this is like, look, man, this is about you. This is about you being a hero.
Yeah.
instead of you
The
now that you have
dog.
the dog in your life, let's make the dog's life better. Let's do things. I tell people forget their past, even if they tell me some story about this dog was horribly abused by a man with a beard.
Of
And
course.
I have a beard, and then in a dog fight, it was a bait dog.
Yeah. They're all bait dogs.
Yeah, and I can't like it trips me out, man. It's like
Yeah.
what's in the human psyche that wants to have this story, and it's so they can be the hero of this story, or
Yeah.
they have meaning in this relation. I don't know, man. I don't get it,
Yeah.
but
It's
I've
just a
heard it so
sickness.
many times that there's definitely a pattern here. I don't know where it stems from.
Mhm.
Maybe it's unresolved trauma within them. I don't know. I'm
For
not sure.
sure. For sure. But it doesn't bring us any closer to solving the problem of training and the problem of saving more dogs, because, there's tons of dogs. I mean, look after COVID, all the shelters were empty. A year later, the shelters were overflowing
Yeah, and
because
still
people go,
are.
oh, COVID, I'm going to be home. I'm going to rescue a dog. And everybody was getting dogs, and the shelters literally they were doing great. But then all those feel good people didn't want to do the right thing, and then they don't mind dumping the dogs back in the shelter because it doesn't fit their bill. I've never thought of giving up on a dog. I remember when I rescued that second Shar-Pei Boots. He was gnarly, and I loved my Shar-Pei Silly a lot, and he nailed him. And I was like, well, we're going to make this work, and that was it. I didn't go, well, I'm going to put him back in the shelter. And I had a friend in Canada who wanted him, who said, I'll take him, don't worry about it, blah, blah, blah. I said, no, I'll figure it out. And I figured it out. And he was fine with, kids and people and other dogs. He couldn't play with other dogs. But if he saw another dog, he was fine, as long as no dog ran up to his face. But he lived with my other Shar-Pei. They shared bully sticks and toys and everything. You know, that's it. There's no magic pill, right? There's none of this. Oh, the dog was horribly aggressive to all dogs, and now he's great with all. He's not. There's no dog that's great with all dogs. It's like I'm not good with all people.
Me neither.
Inevitably the dog's going to meet somebody's going to piss him off, and he's going to bite. Every dog will have some dog. They just haven't met the dog they don't like yet. So when people go to this place, it's really scary because it's this factor, this I'm the greatest trainer factor, I'm the greatest rescuer factor, and we need to get out of that and just do what's right for the dogs.
What do you tell people? Because I tell them I say forget about the past. Like it's all
Yeah,
we're
say the same
dealing with
thing.
today. We're dealing with today and here on out. Now we have whatever the story is. I don't want to hear it because
So the story starts today.
the story starts today. Okay, I
Yeah,
like that. Right? It's like
that's it.
um, and I don't
Live
want
in
to
the
tell
moment.
them. I don't want to tell them. Look, you're the thousandth person that's told me this. Like it's not like
Yeah,
that's not really my role
yeah,
here is to shame them. Look, they've hired me to help them with this relationship with their dog, and that's my goal here. Is like
yeah.
moving forward. I want to, one, teach them something, and two, become progressively unnecessary so that they can move forward. Because guess what? It's their dog. It's not
Yeah,
my dog.
but I know trainers who've had clients' dogs, and they've been with those people for years. And I had a couple clients that would here and there, after like a year or two, they'd call me back and do a couple more sessions, and that's fine. But you don't need to be like, I'm not part of your life. I'm not part of the relationship between you and your dog. And I think a lot of trainers have this thing where they have to like cuddle their dog, and they have to like kiss their dog, and they have to, that dog has to be their best friend. I don't want your dog to be my best friend. I'm here as an intermediary. I'm here to solve a problem, and I don't love your dog. I certainly love all dogs, but I don't have that love relationship. I don't. When I see dogs in the street, I don't have to touch them or meet them. I respect the fact that they can just be. But we get into this factor where everybody has to be this great hero, and I think social media really furthers it, because it's just people need to be liked. I mean, when we started this conversation out, how many likes do you have? How many followers do you have? How many subscribers do you have? Like, and that's one thing where Larry and I really saw eye to eye. Like one of the very, very first conversations we ever had. I detest the word fan. Like I don't have fans. I'm not a rock singer. I'm a dog trainer. There's some people who follow me. Some people like what I do. Some people don't like what I do. Some of my followers don't like what I do. Some of my followers love what I do, but I'm just a dog trainer. I'm a simple guy. I like the girl said, I explain things really simply because that's how I understand things. When you complicate things to me, I can't be your friend because you're talking way, way, way above my head. So
Well, and
yeah,
Einstein
that
said,
one right there.
if you
Yeah.
can't explain something simply, then you just don't know it well enough. And
Yeah,
I
that's
think,
the truth. Yeah.
right. Now, in
Yeah.
closing, too, man, I think we've been chatting for a while here. One thing when I'm looking on all your YouTube videos, and I didn't realize that this was like from 7 years ago, but I watched it, and I gotta tell you, dude, this is part of what we do, and it's how to grieve. And I kind of want to go there, man, like, because you said some very important things in this video, and it looks like it was from 7 years ago.
Yeah. Silly.
Silly.
Episode 22.
Episode 22. Yep. And I just watched it, and I was like, man, how profound was this? What you
Yeah.
said, and it's my honor. Like, it's my honor to be with my dogs when they pass. I have a vet that will come actually here to my house,
Amen. Yeah.
and
100%.
so I consider this to be sacred ground.
Yeah.
And my dogs are in I have a big property here of 5.5 acres, so I have my own pet cemetery behind
Oh,
here
nice.
that they're all there, and I go out there and I'll talk to them, and we don't live as long as our dogs, and this is something that's inevitable. And there's a couple aspects of this. One is that I see people always rehearsing the moment that is inevitable when their dog is sitting right there.
Yeah, it's
Right?
horrible.
Where
Yeah.
they just get so upset that this dog is going to be gone someday, and I'm like, look, the dog's right there, pet him.
Yeah, it's kind of morbid. Yeah.
It is, but it's, I think, natural part of where we go with our minds. And I have to remind them, like, look, grieving your dog right now doesn't help the fact of when they're
Yeah.
actually gone. And so try to push that out. And
Yeah.
there's a moment, but I just remember you saying some stuff in that video that I will take with me. Do you remember that video?
I remember making it. I remember where I was sitting, and I remember it took me a while to be able to do that. And I need to do a follow-up on that because last year we lost three. I lost my mother and three dogs, um, all within 6 months of each other. And then 1 month later, we lost our house and every single thing I owned. So I'm good at. I understand grieving.
How are you today, Robert?
How am I?
How are you?
I'm good.
Are you
Yeah, I
doing
mean,
okay?
I
That's a
I've been
lot,
through a
dude.
lot of stuff in my life. So when people say, "Oh, I've had a tough life," cool. It makes you a better person. I've had a hard life. I've had a really good life though. Like all the stuff that's been hard in my life has been a lesson and has been put on me. And I think it's probably God doing it to me because it's just part of life. But I wouldn't trade my life for any person in the world. And I've known very, very famous people. I've known very, very wealthy people. I have the exact life I'm supposed to have. I'm blessed every single day. I have a beautiful wife. I have beautiful dogs. I have my health. I'm 61 years old. I'm at the gym. I can, I love my life. I get to train my dog every single day. I've had financial success. I've had health success. I've had success in an industry I absolutely love. So I I have no right to complain. There's kids 6 years old who have cancer. What an idiot would I be to complain?
Yeah, but you still are valuable with the discomfort that you feel, right? And
Yeah.
that needs to be acknowledged, and I think that we forget that as well. And one of the things that you said in that video was the dismissive comments that people will make, will just get another dog, and
Yeah.
I can't stand that, man. Instead of just being there and acknowledging, man, this is heavy.
I'll tell you something, Bill. Since we're wrapping it up, I'm going to give you, and I may have mentioned it in that podcast or not, but I'm going to give you one of the most valuable lessons that I've learned in my life. And it was in a book called The Committed Life. and a woman, Edith Jungreis, she was an Orthodox Jewish woman, wrote this book. And in it, she said that she met someone, and this person said that when they lost a specific family member, a very important person to them, every single person said something stupid like, well, God doesn't close the door where he doesn't open a window, or God wouldn't give you this suffering if you couldn't, da, 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 da. All these idiotic things. And this person said to her, I believe it was her father or her husband, I think it was her father, was the only person who helped me grieve properly. And she said, what did he say? And it brings tears to my eyes every time I say this. And the person said, he didn't say anything. He held me and he cried with me. He shared the pain. And so often we try to take people's suffering away from them by saying something stupid. And the only thing you can do, like when I have a friend, if something happened, I'm going to hug him, I'm going to tell him I love him, and I'm going to just let him cry. Don't try to fix problems, right? In these emotional capacities, sometimes it's not about fixing things, it's about accepting things and being there for that creature, that dog, that person, whatever.
Even though it's uncomfortable.
Horribly uncomfortable, but that's part of life. We talk about discomfort and we talk about growing through discomfort. When children have pains in their legs, they're growing pains, right? You want to cram acetaminophen down their throat, or you want to just go, you know what, you're having growing pains. That's what happens.
Yeah. And I've gone through it too, man. My mom, my dad, and recently my wife had cancer.
Sorry.
And I took 3 years off of work. Luckily I had a good savings, and I'm blessed that way too.
Yeah.
And I think just like in what is it, the story of Job in the Bible, where we have a choice to curse God or to
best story in the Bible.
I'm glad to hear you say that.
That's one of my favorite stories.
Yeah.
In fact, my wife's uncle made one of the most beautiful paintings of Job. His name's Abraham Ratner, and it's like, if you ever see that painting, it's spectacular. The painting of Job by Abraham Ratner. It's just amazing.
I've got to pull it up here. Well, and just so you know, we'll wrap up, but I want to show your page, and then I also I just shared this, you guys, in the comments down below. Here it is. $10, Committed Life.
Yeah, it's a great book.
Yeah, I love it. I'm gonna buy it as soon as we're off here. And then what did you say? Painting of Job.
Yeah, I don't know if you'll be able to find it by Abraham Ratner.
Abraham Ratner. Let's try, man. Like the
yeah, you might be a master. I have a hard time with that stuff, but
Joe,
you'll probably find a lot of paintings by him.
Is it like abstract?
Yeah, it's very abstract looking.
Okay, man. I think I got it here. Let's see here. Is it this one down here? Is this it or no?
I believe that's it. Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Well, what's crazy too is that I'm an art guy too. Like
okay.
So, but I'm a glass artist, right? But I go to like a lot of my friends are painters, and dude, I look at dog training as an art, right?
It is an art. I said that for years ago. It's more than an art than a science.
Amen. That's what I say too. It's like, and that's, I mean, this will be probably on our next conversation, and I definitely want to have I open it another conversation with you, dude, because I mean, I just think that we're scratching the surface, and we gotta have a Q&A question.
Well, you let me know. I'm fine. Let's do it. Let's do it sooner rather than later. Let's do it like you tell me. I mean, I know you got a lot of other people to do, but I'm happy to come anytime.
Oh no, I'll text you, because I mean, this is something that I've been wanting to do, and the more that I've watched you, the deeper I've fallen in love with you, dude. Like,
thank you, man. I appreciate that.
Like you have a great heart, and I look forward to learning from you. I look forward to seeing you again. I've got my ticket already to the IACP conference in 2026.
It's going to be a very unique speech. It's going to ruffle a lot of feathers, but it's going to be
do you know what you're going to talk about already?
I know what it is. I'm not. Yeah, it's gonna really deal with what needs to be done in this industry.
Okay. And then here's your course. I put up a link in the comments, you
Oh,
guys.
thank you very much. Yeah,
Of course. So, and you have over what, 70 hours of
there's probably close to 90 hours of dog training there. Yeah.
yeah, and you got a yearly plan of 100. Dude, that's what a deal.
Yeah, that's actually it's going to go up. We've had to adjust that, so that's going to only go through the end of the year. So if anybody wants to do it now. Then it's going to be a significant increase because we've had a lot of cost increases with hosting and everything.
Okay, I might be doing it myself.
There
And
you
then
go.
and then the other what else was I going to mention? Oh, I have to mention too, you guys, if you like what I do, consider supporting me on Patreon. It's I got some unique content there as well. I'll put a link to my Patreon. I hate doing the self-promoting thing, but
You got to do it, man.
and those that support me on Patreon, thank you, you guys. I'm about ready to purchase another camera, and you guys have supported me in my travels when my RV broke down. And I have
That's
that story
awesome.
on the Patreon too. How you guys flew me home, and so thank you, thank you, thank you. And man, I just appreciate your time. This is what I consider to be my Christmas present this year, is the gift of
Oh
your
man.
presence, Robert. So thank you,
Well,
man.
thank you. It was a really great conversation. I really enjoyed this, not being, rehearsed or anything, just a natural conversation with a fellow dog lover and dog advocate. So thank you.
You bet, man. Well, let's say goodbye to everybody, and then I'll say goodbye to you in the studio, and then we'll wrap it up. And I'm gonna go make myself. I got uh, bacon. I made my own bacon, dude. So I've
Oh,
cured it
nice.
and everything, and so I'm gonna make some bacon cheeseburgers after this. So
Good. I've got something waiting for me in the kitchen too. My wife just said.
okay, good. Say goodbye to everybody here, and then I'll say goodbye to you in the studio.
Oh, let me wave with this hand so people can see me.
See you guys.